Before you say I do, there are a few conversations every couple should have. And no, we're not talking about the wedding playlist. We're talking finances, the future plans, because these important discussions help set the foundation for a strong and healthy marriage. Joining us today is Tanisa Velez from Velez Law to walk us through the 4 conversations couples should have before marriage. Well, welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So many of my friends are getting engaged, they're getting married, and we all talk about what that wedding day is going to look like, the perfect dress, the napkins, all the things. But have we talked about how much debt we're in? Have we talked about what kind of house are we looking to get, how much we can afford? And these are all conversations that need to happen before we walk down the aisle.
Exactly.
So what are some of these things that we should talk about? I think first and foremost, money.
Yes.
That's a big one.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, even though they're going to get married, sometimes they don't want to talk about money because it's uncomfortable or how they're going to divide things. Prenups get a really bad rep. It's like a life insurance policy. You hope that you'll never have to use it, or you might with that. But, with a prenup, it certainly just is giving protection. Establishing what you've agreed upon before you enter into marriage. So you're not walking through marriage confused or afraid to talk about things. It kind of makes you sit down and thoroughly think, okay, how do we want to handle bills? How do we want to share our accounts, if at all? So those things really help build that foundation. So there's not that surprise 10 years later, and then you're calling me for a different matter.
Right. Yes. And, 20-something-year-olds, we're kind of in that beginning stage of, planning out a financial future, whether it's still paying off student debt or maybe we bought a new vehicle right out of college. I think kind of knowing that, because later down the line when you're looking to buy that house, when they pull that credit check, they're going to know all of those details. And we don't want any surprises when that comes about. Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people also think, I'm only 20 or I'm only 24, I don't need a prenup, or that's just for people who have a lot of money.
Exactly.
That's really not the case at all. Several prenups that I've done have been for 20-year-olds. They've also been for older people, well established in their life, but there is nothing wrong with getting that protection early.
I kind of mentioned it, housing, which is a big one. So, is the husband going to own the house? Is the wife going to have the house? Are you going to go together on it? That's a really good conversation to have too.
Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on what your intention is with the home. So if you want to own that jointly, that can be you guys own it jointly and you're both on the deed. If you want to maintain that real property, then you would be a sole person on that deed. And then that can be established in the prenuptial agreement. So if you want to share that house with your spouse and you want to divide that equity, if you do happen to go through a divorce or a legal separation, put your name both on the deed. But also that can go in the prenup, however you want to establish who owns the house.
Really, really good. And something that my parents taught me very early on is when you get married, you're not married to that one person, you are married to that whole entire family. So family boundaries is a really big one too.
Yeah, and that's always difficult, right? Family boundaries. Are there any? Who knows?
Yeah.
That often comes into play. Sometimes there's a push for family members to say, you need a prenup. And maybe that couple is like, no, we don't want to have a prenup. You're, welcome to choose whichever way you want to go. But I think that is something that you really, as a couple, should talk with your family and make sure that your spouse or, eventual spouse is having that conversation before, because it could muddy up the waters. And then again, you're calling me for a dissolution.
Right. Well, even too, not even like the prenup route, but even just splitting time, whether maybe we all live out of state. So are we going to do just Christmases with that one side of the family, or are we going to switch every other? And also getting that support too as well is really important to have that conversation with.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot that goes into getting married. With a prenup, you are saying, no, we don't want Kentucky state law's protections. We want our agreement. So certainly that is a large conversation that we can have. If you are going through that and want my firm to help with the prenuptial agreement on what sorts of things we can put in there. What are the bounds, of this prenuptial agreement? So, certainly a lot of good points to talk about.
Yeah, and when people, get in touch with you to do that prenup, can it be, and it sounds like you can put basically whatever you need or want in that agreement. Are some like longer than others, would you say? Or is it really just couple to couple?
Yeah, I would say it's couple to couple. I mean, certainly there are things that we cannot put in a prenuptial agreement, maybe things that are violating public policy, which is a long conversation.
Yeah, that's why we get you involved.
But it's person to person, couple to couple. Some really want to be, very thorough about things that you wouldn't even think about. Maybe we're talking about gifts and how that's going to return to the person who received the gift. I've had to do some intricate things that I'm like, interesting. I didn't know people were really particular about that thing. So, it just depends. It just depends. But there is nothing wrong with having that conversation, even scheduling a consultation with me to figure out what bounds we can go through and also what protections we can have.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much
thanks for having me
today.
Absolutely.
This is a great refresher for so many people and to get those conversations started now rather than later. So again, if you're interested in learning more, just head over to tvelezlaw.com.